Losing a spouse is one of the most devastating experiences anyone can endure. It's not just the deep sorrow in your heart, it's the sudden emptiness, the long days where you don't know where to begin. In those moments, when your heart is still shattered, it's easy to make hasty choices, driven by pain, loneliness, or pressure from those around you. But here's the thing. Some of those decisions can lead to unnecessary regrets, financial struggles, or deeper emotional wounds, making your journey to healing even more challenging. The truth is, while grief is profoundly personal, there are certain decisions you should pause and reconsider before saying yes. In this video, we'll explore 5 critical things to avoid after losing a spouse. These are mistakes many people stumble into unknowingly, only to realize later they weren't truly ready. These pitfalls can turn an already tough time into a maze with no way out. But by knowing them ahead of time, you can safeguard your emotional, financial, and physical well-being. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share isn't just about avoiding missteps. It's a guiding light to help you navigate this new chapter of your life with clarity, dignity, and the support you truly deserve. This is a journey of resilience, self-love, and hope amid what might feel like the darkest days. So, let's begin. 1. Rushing into major financial decisions. When your spouse passes away, life suddenly thrusts you into a sea of financial questions you never thought you'd face alone. Bank accounts, insurance policies, investments, and the family home. Should you sell it or keep it? In the storm of grief, you might think acting quickly will bring a sense of control, or at least some stability in those unsteady days. But the harsh reality is that sorrow can cloud your judgment. Big, irreversible financial decisions made too soon can leave scars of regret down the road. When emotions are running high, what seems logical in the moment might not hold up in the long run. Take Margaret, a 72-year-old woman from suburban Charlotte, North Carolina, who lost her husband after 50 years together. When he passed, friends and even financial advisors urged her to sell their family home on Elmwood Road, move to a smaller condo downtown, and start anew. The idea sounded appealing at first: lower costs, less upkeep, a fresh start. Within months, Margaret sold the house she'd lived in for decades and relocated to an unfamiliar part of the city. But as the initial shock faded, she felt a growing void. She missed the tree-lined street leading to her old home, the backyard garden where she'd planted roses with her husband, and the sense of safety that house had given her. Looking back, she realized her decision came from panic, not clarity. She wished she'd waited, given herself time to breathe and feel before appending her life. Those first months after losing a spouse are for healing your soul, not gambling with major financial shifts. And beware, predators know how vulnerable you are. They might swoop in with unsolicited investment offers, high-pressure sales pitches, or even misguided advice from well-meaning loved ones. Step back and give yourself space to heal. Experts often suggest the 1-year rule, waiting at least a year before making irreversible choices. There's no rush, the best decisions come from calm, and you deserve security with every step you take. 2. Isolating yourself from friends and family. When your spouse is gone, there are days you just want to curl up in a corner and let the world stop spinning. The pain is yours alone, and sometimes solitude feels like the only way to face it. That's completely natural. Everyone needs moments to themselves. But if you lock the door on friends, family, and those who care, that loneliness can swallow you whole, making healing feel further out of reach than ever. Many fall into the trap of pulling away. They tell themselves they just need more time, that no one could understand their grief. But if that isolation stretches on, it can become a closed loop you don't know how to break. Human connection is medicine for the soul, especially in times of loss. Think of Henry, a 74-year-old widower from Boise, Idaho. After his wife passed, he stopped answering calls, skipped family gatherings at the park near the Boise River, and rarely left his small house on Pine Street. He convinced himself people wouldn't get it, that he wasn't ready to talk. But after months of silence, Henry found he wasn't getting better. He was more exhausted, his mood darker, and he'd even lost his appetite. Then everything shifted when Susan, his neighbor, knocked on his door with a cup of coffee. That small chat turned into a weekly ritual. Slowly, Henry reconnected with old friends and his kids. He felt lighter, not because the pain vanished, but because he realized he wasn't as alone as he'd thought. You don't have to dive into crowded parties when you're not ready. A text, a nod, a smile, those tiny threads can pull you out of the shadows. Let those who love you walk beside you. You don't have to be strong on your own. 3. Neglecting your health and well-being. When you lose your spouse, the pain can sweep you away so completely that you forget yourself. You skip doctor's visits, lose interest in cooking, or let sleep slip through restless nights. Some even feel guilty for self-care, as if it somehow lessens the depth of their loss. But here's the truth. Neglecting yourself doesn't bring them back. It only makes your path forward rougher. Grief doesn't just live in your heart. It seeps into your body. Science shows losing a spouse can raise your risk of heart issues, weaken your immune system, and even dim your memory. The stress of sorrow can spike blood pressure, disrupt sleep, and shift your appetite. Consider Dorothy, a 77-year-old widow from suburban Springfield, Illinois. After her husband died, she stopped cooking for herself. She told herself she wasn't hungry, but soon she was living on unhealthy processed snacks, her energy draining away. Her daughter noticed and gently nudged her back to balanced meals. When Dorothy started small, cooking a simple dish, drinking more water, she felt stronger. Her spirits lifted, and she could better handle the emotional waves of grief. Self-care isn't just food, it's movement, rest, and mental health. Even a short daily walk can ease stress and brighten your day. A warm meal, a cool glass of water, a stroll around the park. These are ways to hold yourself gently, as your spouse would have wanted. You deserve to live, one day at a time. 4. Rushing into a new relationship. Losing your spouse leaves a void that feels impossible to fill. The loneliness that follows is one of grief's hardest blows, and the thought of new companionship might seem like the only escape. But one of the biggest mistakes many widows and widowers make is jumping into a new relationship before they're ready to heal. Grief has no deadline. Everyone mends at their own pace. Some take years to consider dating again, others feel ready sooner. But when your emotions are still raw, rushing into romance can bring more heartache, confusion, and regret. Take Ellen, a 68-year-old widow from Asheville, North Carolina. She started a relationship soon after losing her husband of 40 years. At first, it felt like the comfort she craved. But as time passed, Ellen realized she wasn't ready. She felt trapped, wondering if she was just trying to replace what she'd lost. After decades with one person, diving into love too fast can spark unrealistic expectations, tangled feelings, and even guilt. A healthy relationship begins when both people are whole, not born from loneliness or desperation. Trust your heart and give it time. Love will come when you're truly ready, and then it'll be a light, not a burden. 5. Holding on to every possession without letting go. One of the toughest things after losing a spouse is deciding what to do with their belongings. Every item carries memories: the shirt they wore, the shoes they stepped in, the chair they loved. Letting go can feel like losing them all over again. Many widows and widowers wrestle with this, keeping everything as it was, afraid that changing anything means erasing the life they shared. But clinging to it all forever can stall your healing and hold you back. Keeping a few meaningful treasures is beautiful, but leaving everything untouched can turn your home into a shrine of sorrow instead of a place of peace. Think of Walter, a 71-year-old widower from suburban Salem, Oregon. After his wife passed, he kept everything the same. Her clothes stayed in the closet of their Maple Avenue home, her shoes by the door, her favorite chair empty. At first, it felt like a way to keep her close, but over time, Walter saw he was clinging to the past instead of making room to heal. He started slowly, donating some items, holding on to a few that mattered most. He felt relief, not because he forgot her, but because he was letting himself live again. Pick one thing to keep, one to share. It's not forgetting, it's making space to breathe. Memories don't live in objects, they're in your heart, forever. Losing a spouse changes everything. It depends how you live, how you think, and how you see tomorrow. But in those days of grief, every choice you make can either lift you up or weigh you down. By steering clear of these 5 mistakes, rushing financial moves, isolating yourself, neglecting your health, leaping into new love, and holding the past too tight, you can walk through this chapter with clarity, dignity, and a strength you didn't know you had. Grief has no timeline, and there's no right or wrong way to face it. But by caring for yourself and moving forward with purpose, you can live again, with meaning, peace, and even joy, just as your spouse would have wanted for you. What touched you most in this video? Which piece of advice feels like it could change your journey the most? I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Share one thing you took away today and how you might weave it into your life. Your story matters to us, and every word you share fuels us to keep creating content that matters. Thank you for being here, for listening, for walking this path with me. I can't wait to see you in the next video, and until then, remember you're not alone. You're stronger than you know, and every day is a chance to heal, to live, to love yourself again.